a great episode. I'm actually interviewing people that work in sports because it's AllStar Weekend. Who better to interview than someone that works for the NBA and then someone that works with the WNBA? So meet my guest this week.
My name is Osbourne. I'm assistant coach with the Portland Trailblazers. I've been here 9 years, and I've been coaching for 35 years.
Hey guys, my name is Khristina Williams. I'm the founder of Girls Talk Sports TV, also just listed on the 2021 Forbes 30 Under 30 sports category. And yeah, what I do is I cover women's basketball in the WNBA, and in a little under 3 years, I became one of the most trusted voices in the league. And so it's been a super exciting journey for sure.
Okay. So how do you both get in the industries that you are at now?
I was just like every other kid. I wanted to be a professional basketball player. And out of high school, I signed with the University of South Alabama. In my senior year, I had 2 knee injuries, so I knew I couldn't play basketball anymore. So the love of the game was always going to be in me. And in 1987, 88, I started coaching at my old high school, freshman basketball at Vanguard High School. And I did that for 3, maybe 4 years. And then I went back to my old alma mater, South Alabama, and I coached there for 7 years. And then my heart just kept telling me I wanted to do more. So I ended up going to the minor leagues for 13 years. When I say the minor leagues, that means the CBA. It's called the G League now. When I coached in it, it was called the Developmental League. I coached in the USBL. I did coach in the WNBA for 2 summers with the San Antonio Stars.
All right.
And then I have faith in God. And 9 years ago, he opened up this door for me to get to the NBA. So it's just a passion for coaching since I couldn't become an NBA player myself.
Well, for me, my love for the game started as a little girl in the 5th grade. Played basketball up until high school, played varsity basketball. And then when I got to college, I was really focused on my creative side, studied journalism and theater. And so at the same time, I would double as a youth basketball coach on the weekends. And I also coached AAU boys at one point in New York. But I found that being a woman in that coaching space was definitely difficult. Lots of politics in it. And so I found that wasn't for me. And so for me, my involvement with basketball has always evolved over the years. And so a few years ago, I decided to start Girls Talk Sports TV to make a space for women, because I realized only 4% of women sports receive media coverage. And for me, I wanted to tackle that statistic while also, just showing representation for women, especially Black women, in that space. I feel like we are underrepresented in terms of sports media. And so that's really what it's all about for me, just giving women a voice and visibility.
Can you describe how has it been working during COVID?
Obviously, it's very different with no fans being in the arenas. Obviously, when you have home court experience, it really helps to have fans there. And when we travel now, we pretty much have to stay in our hotel, and how we eat now is kind of bagged food, and instead of going out to restaurants and stuff like that. But you have to respect that stuff, because obviously people are dying out in the streets, and we always have to remember what's important. So I think the NBA is doing a great job of trying to just keep us all secluded and make sure the fans don't get sick, the players and the coaches don't get sick. But it is different. It's just a different vibe when you go to an arena. You used to seeing 19 or 20,000 people in the arena, and there's nobody in the arena now. So I feel more for the players more than anybody else, because, when you have home court advantage and your home court fans are cheering you on, it really gives you a home court advantage. So that's been the most difficult part that I think right now.
So Dale, you said that it has the players' eating habits has changed. Has that had any effect on their bodies?
No, I would say that as far as when we're on the road, as far as going out to restaurants and stuff like that, we're not allowed to do that. We're told to stay in the hotel and order. So I think, our guys, they're professional guys. They're going to continue to watch what they eat, how they eat, and what time they eat. So I just think it's just different avenues. Instead of, when you go on the road and you go to LA and you want to go have a nice dinner at a nice restaurant, we can't do that right now, because it's better. It's safer for us to stay in our hotel room.
As a content creator and digital host, nothing, I mean, the only thing that changed is probably like last season with the WNBA, there was a lot of virtual stuff happening and the women were in the bubble and only ESPN reporters were allowed to go in. And so for us in the digital space, you know, we had a lot of Zoom calls every day. And since the league is small, 12 teams, I mean, I felt like to a certain extent, I experienced Zoom exhaustion because when you're in your local market, for me in New York City, you're just covering the New York Liberty. And so with the bubble situation, it gave us an opportunity to cover everything. And so for me, it was just like being on those calls, like sometimes 4 to 8 hours a day, editing content, trying to get it out before the next call the next day. And so I also took advantage of that time as well as a content creator to launch new podcasts and just really show these women in a different light and kind of like stay with the momentum that was building, because last season we saw ratings increase. We saw visibility increase in terms of shows on TV. And so for me and my platform is about keeping that momentum going with the media coverage as well. Just being in that locker room and like getting those post games or those pre-game interviews on the sidelines was really difficult. But yeah, just adapting and adjusting to that new norm.
So Dale, you said that, you know, I know you guys, the games are sped up now. Has that affected like players' workouts?
When it was the regular season NBA before COVID came, you would have like, every once in a while you would have like a back-to-back or a day between games. But since we got to a late start this year in December and we're trying to get back on schedule, the games are now coming every other day. And I feel for the players because that's kind of hard. You travel, then you play a game, and then you might have a day off, but then you play the next day. So that's kind of hard wear and tear on their bodies. I think everybody understands now that Adam Silver, our commissioner, is doing a great job trying to keep the league going. And just sometimes you just have to restructure some things to make everything fit. So I think the players understand what's going on in NBA. And it does affect workouts because you don't have a lot of time. When you play games as much as we're playing, you have to think more about rest and working out.
How has games, Khristina, for the WNBA been since COVID has started?
It's kind of the same as the NBA in sense of like the season was shortened. And so since it was a condensed season, the ladies had to play a lot of back-to-backs as well. And we saw last season in the bubble, there were a lot of injuries last season.
Oh, Lord.
And that caused a lot of wear and tear on their body. So we saw a lot of injuries more than any season, I guess, last season. And then in that sense, just to piggyback off what he was saying is in the bubble, the women of WNBA had, different kinds of meals. And in the beginning of the bubble, there were a lot of complaints about the quality of the food that they were able to get access to. Last season, they didn't really have a training camp. And so for that also affected, people's positions when it came to cutting down the rosters to 12 going into the season. A lot of people who got drafted didn't really have a chance to, make a team, make the final rosters. And so, it worked in some people's favor, like a Taya Cooper, who was waived by the Phoenix Mercury and then signed with the Los Angeles Sparks and then re-signed again this season. So for those players who were waived from last year's draft prior to the season started, going into that bubble gave them a second chance to prove themselves, to make a roster on a team. And so we saw many different things happen with last season.
Speaking of injuries, we see documentaries for football. We see Will Smith talk about concussions with football. It seems that the NBA and the WNBA is injuries. We see injuries, but we don't hear a lot of stories about them. So from your guys' experience, what have been some stories, some injury stories, how it has affected the body in the long run?
From the recent memory of this season, especially, is Breanna Stewart. She tore her Achilles, which is like a very, very terrible injury. And many athletes don't really come back from something like that. And in the 2020 season, not only was she able to come back, but she won a championship in finals MVP. And so that just goes to show, as an athlete, when you take care of your body, the way that she did, you can come back, at a high volume and win a championship. And so I think that was dope. Just seeing Stewie being able to do something like that.
Like what Khristina said, We'll have guys that will break their hand and twist an ankle or have a hard fall, but they will bounce back for the most part. When you think about football, obviously the concussion, that's like a more physical sport, and obviously people are suffering from that kind of disease. But basketball, with the injuries that we have, you might have a guy that will break his leg, but given time, he'll heal and he'll come back. And again, it goes about how well you take care of his body.
Women in other sports are sexualized by some man. We see volleyball players being sexualized, tennis players being sexualized. I don't know if from your experience, do you believe that a lot of WNBA players are also as sexualized as these other athletes?
That's a tough question. I wouldn't say sexualized, but there is a sort of stigma around the women in the WNBA and how they are supposed to act and look. And you have athletes who kind of break that stigma and that stereotype, the Liz Cambridges, the Cheyenne Parkers, who embrace their bodies and really spread that positive positivity message. Liz Cambridge became the first pro athlete to endorse Rihanna's Savage Fenty brand. And so now you're seeing more and more players get those kind of beauty endorsement deals and apparel deals as well. And it's kind of opening up the conversation to body image in the WNBA. I know Sue Bird recently did an article with GQ where she talked about how when she first came into the league, she felt uncomfortable because people expected her to be so feminine, like wearing dresses and heels and things like that. And that wasn't who she was as a person. That just wasn't her. And she talked about how she, after years in the league, decided to, just be open and embrace herself, her true self. And, you see more athletes now talking about that. So I think it's dope for the game, especially when you have athletes like Liz Cambridge who are coming up and saying, no, like, I'm a woman, I'm sexy, I can be this and that, and I can be a ball player too,
Right. So also back to the WNBA, just recently we seen about the owner that the WNBA, they tend to be sticking together and cohesive with their messages for Black Lives Matter and such and such. Do you feel that the NBA hasn't been as cohesive as WNBA in terms of their messaging?
So the WNBA, they've always been at the forefront of the social justice movement in terms of getting the word out and making change happen. I think that the NBA, I love what Adam Silver is doing in terms of having a player association back the players in their initiatives. You see players like a LeBron James, a Kyrie Irving that are doing the work on the ground. And also they're working with the WNBA players as well. LeBron James and Lou Will actually helped Renee Montgomery navigate into becoming a co-owner for the Atlanta Dream.
All right.
I thought that was interesting how they helped her, gave her some advice on like the moves to take to be able to complete that as a minority owner in that team. And then also Kyrie Irving, what he did when players opted out of the WNBA last season, he made a $2 million fund to fund their salaries, because when those players opted out, they sacrificed their salary for the season. And so you see the NBA players backing these women as they go forth and do the work in terms of social justice. LeBron James launched the More Than a Vote initiative, and a lot of WNBA players, Skylar Diggins-Smith, Renee Montgomery, Natasha Cloud, they joined in to help people get registered to vote and to raise awareness about voter suppression. And so I do love what both leagues are doing.
All right, girl, you just
she's on it.
Since it's AllStar Weekend, so are there any like favorite memories that you have from just watching AllStar Weekend?
Oh yeah, as a boy growing up, I used to love to watch Dr. J. He was my favorite player. I used to love watch Doc in the dunk contest. I'm a big fan of the dunk contest. And this weekend we got a young guy on our team named Anthony Simons. He's going to be participating in the dunk contest, so I'm going to be watching.
I'm going to have to agree with Dale. I love dunk contest. That was like my favorite event watching to grow up when I grew up. And I love watching like Vince Carter back in the day. But I also like seeing Aaron Gordon, more of those explosive newcomers up in the league. My hope one day was to play in a celebrity game. Hopefully I'll get there one day and be able to play.
I'm going to look forward to seeing you play, girl.
Speaking it into existence.
So Dale, you say you have somebody that's participating in the dunk contest from the Portland Trailblazers. Just a random question about your team. You know, Dame Leonard is, he's known as like a clutch player. What do you feel that it would take for you guys to make it all the way to the championship?
We just have to get healthy. Obviously, you just spoke of a great player and a great person, Dame Lillard. He's been carrying us a lot the first half of the season. We've had two really good players, CJ McCollum and Yusuf Nurkic, go down with injuries, and hopefully they'll come back soon. But Dame's been really stepping up as a leader and carrying our team, and obviously Carmelo stepped up, and a lot of guys have stepped up. But it starts with number 0, Damian Lillard. So if we can get guys healthy the second half of the season, hopefully we can make a run for it.
I just want to say CJ was playing great before he got injured.
He was. He really was.
All-star.
Yeah, you know basketball now. You don't talk to talk, you walk to walk. I see you know basketball.
Yeah, I do. Cool. It was so funny, actually. CJ, so I do NBA courtside on Clubhouse with the NBA, and CJ took 1 week and had
cool.
Chat with him. But yeah,
definitely he's a good dude.
He's balling out.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys saw the recent criticism of Shaq, his comments about NBA players. He felt that they don't take criticism well. What is your opinion on that?
Well, I've been blessed here, Latasha, to be with a guy again named Damian Lillard. And I'm just telling you, man, I couldn't. People have no idea, like, he's one of the top 5 players in the NBA, and when you walk into our practice facility or the games, you would not know it. He wants to be coached. He wants to be pointed out in film session. He wants to be told what he's doing wrong, what he's doing right. So I've been truly blessed for 9 years. He was a rookie when I got here as a rookie head coach, assistant coach. I mean, as a rookie assistant coach, and him and CJ, we've never had those issues here in Portland Trailblazers because those two guys set the tone. I mean, we've been really blessed with Dame and CJ being great people and great coachable players.
I mean, there's a difference between constructive criticism and just like straight up hating on players. But I think that what Shaq has done in his career is amazing. And at the time, he was one of the most dominant players. So I think you have to like give respect to the newcomers coming up in the new school. It's a different style of game. It's a different time in the NBA. And so, while I understand the entertainment factor of some of his comments, I do think that he should just give them a little bit more respect.
Is there any projects that you guys have coming forward or anything that you want the public just to know that you have going on?
No, Latasha, I just stick to coaching. Hopefully we can get healthy and make a run for this thing. With the injuries we had, we're 5th in the West, which is really incredible. Our coach, our head coach, Terry Stotts, and our general manager, Neil O'Shea, they've done a great job keeping us afloat. And Dame and Carmelo and all the other players have done a great job stepping up, keeping us afloat. So hopefully we can just get healthy and make a run in the Western Conference and hopefully play for a championship this year.
All right.
And for me, what I have coming up, well, the WNBA is celebrating its 25th anniversary season. And so looking forward to that, the WNBA draft is set next month on April 15th. Also, I will be covering the women's Final Four. So make sure you guys tune in to the Girls Talk Sports TV and follow me at Khristina Williams and just follow women's basketball in general.
All righty. Well, thank you guys. This was a great interview.
Thank you, Tasha, for having me.
Thank you. And it was nice meeting you, Khristina.